Welcome to Fins TV Plus on FTSM. I am your host, Fin Sammy, aka Fin Sammy and X, with my co-host, the controversial Eddie Chabot. Fast Eddie, welcome back to Fins TV Plus, Eddie.
Thank you, sir. How are you doing tonight?
Well, we could have been doing better, but we have an 0-3 team, so what can we do about it? I'm gonna start right away. I want to know your thoughts on the last week's game. The Dolphins actually played better. I think the game plan was better. I think my Daniel had a better game plan. Of course, if he coached the game like he coached last week, we went to some couple of mistakes. I feel more comfortable about the Dolphins, the way the Dolphins play. What are your thoughts about the Dolphins lost last week against the Bills before we go ahead with the Jets?
I thought he had a very good game plan last week. Some of the players didn't execute like normal. Nothing you can do about that. I mean, you can practice, you can teach, but if they're not as good as they need to be, that's just what's going to happen. The defense was horrible at first, then it stood up at the end finally. I know there's a lot of different pieces to that defense, and everybody's blaming Weaver. I am not, because you're not just going to be a bad coach from one year to the next. It's what he has to work with. He's trying to cover up a very poor secondary, and it showed. He's having to use formations I haven't seen since high school. They were running a 3-3-5 or something like that the other night. I was like, wow, that's why they're getting gutted in the run. As for the game itself, they played way better. If you remember on my prediction on the other show, that I thought Miami would be ahead at halftime. They were just barely, or were they tied or just barely behind? It doesn't matter. But they made some adjustments, but just not enough.
Absolutely, but I feel like Mike McDaniel seemed more poised. He seemed more in control. The penalties were down. The play calling was better. There was a part of the game that he kind of went away from the running game, but I think we remember. Oh crap! I have to run the ball.
Yeah,
and he went back to Ollie Gordon, and they started to pick up things. So that's an encouragement. I'm still not confident in Mike McDaniel. I never have, but for once, I think that he sees the moment and he tried to do the better he could. But that roster, like you always say, for many years now, you say that the problem is the roster. The roster is not well constructed, and I think you might be right on Anthony Weaver. I think he might be doing the best he could with some things, but the biggest disappointment of the team right now is the front seven. So I don't know your thoughts about that. Kind of disappointment of the front seven because the Bills run the ball at will at the Dolphins on Monday.
Yeah, James Cook always kills us. It doesn't matter. James Cook always in passing and receiving, or running. I thought they did a pretty good containment job on Josh Allen, but they're not getting home and they're getting gutted up the middle. That's not a great offensive line in Buffalo. But up the middle,
sister one because they usually have the same guys, but it's not known for being a great offensive line for sure.
Yeah, and it's they were getting pushed around up there. I mean, Sealer, like I said, I love the pick in the first round, but I think they reached there because they had to, because they didn't sign anybody and they had nobody to go along with Sealer up there, and they still don't. The kid's a rookie. The defensive line is one of the hardest positions, even though people don't realize that. They don't just come in. Look at Christian Wilkins, his first, 2 years?
Yes.
He was average. Everybody thought he was a bust, and then he turned into what he was. Great. So it's they're built wrong. I'm not giving up on the rookie on the offensive line either. He's out there. He shouldn't have been he should be the only rookie, and there shouldn't be guys from a practice squad on the offensive line, and he's got to make up. Nobody's protecting him like they should. He's got to fill in stuff, and it's hard. It's freaking hard. And look at, they benched. Excuse me, little voice problem. They benched Keon Smith last week. Put in Brunskill, who was just as bad. But the front seven, getting back on track here, is the biggest disappointment. I think they're overrated. I think their middle linebackers are – I think Dotson – I think he showed what he could do last year to get a payday this year. I haven't seen anything from him. He is
That's the reason why I see Seahawks coming. You might be wrong on that. Yes.
Yeah, Brooks is their leader back there. He's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. Just like that was not a personal foul. I don't give a crap. They let the Bills push everybody around after the whistle blows. So he made a mistake. At least he was firing. They were hitting in that game, though. I will give them that. But the front seven, no, it's the biggest disappointment. Phillips, they say he's getting pressure, but he just doesn't look the same. And Chubb, it's the same thing. They're getting pushed around too. They're terrible in the run game. And Chop Robinson, I don't know where he's been.
Yeah, I wanted to answer this question. I almost tested you to ask you this question, but you mentioned Sealer. The Dolphins a couple of years have given contract extension to players, and then when they do, they basically don't show up. Do you think Sealer is the continuation of that trend of, we pay Sealer, fans wanted to pay Sealer? I basically called it before because I said fans wanted to get the player paid, the Dolphins paid the player, they play those expectations, and they play Chris Weir, rinse and repeat. But I want to know your thoughts of he getting a contract extension and maybe not playing up the park.
I don't think so with him. I think he needs a running mate. You need somebody. You need somebody beside you up there. It can't be just you. They're probably forcing all their attention on him. We just don't see it. I try to look at the all 22. I had problems with it this week. He gets a lot of double teams because the other guys are getting blocked. I mean, Phillips next to him sometimes. He was doing a great job in preseason. Now he's not. He's getting blown off the ball because the real men are out there now. It ain't the third and fourth string of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Jaguars, whoever they played in the preseason. I don't even remember now. Grant, like I said, it's going to take some time. He doesn't know all the ins and outs. He doesn't know. I mean, they should have they could have picked him, but they should have paid Calais Campbell a lot more money than Arizona just to keep him for 1 year. I guarantee you Sealer would have sacks by now because he knew what was coming almost every play because of how smart he is. And that's why the only thing that when they didn't pay Christian Wilkins, what I was worried about was that too with Sealer because them two knew each other so well. But now you got a whole new front up there, and it's not working out yet. It's early for that. I'm not too worried about them guys, but we'll see.
And Calais Campbell basically won the game for the Cardinals 2 weeks in a row, so that really, really hurts. Our guest is in the lobby. Let's talk a little bit about the Jets. Let's see if this works. See, our guest is here, Greg Meyne. Greg, welcome back to Fins TV Plus on FTSN.
Oh, thanks for having me, Sammy. Nice talking with both of you guys. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. Greg, I've seen you for a while. We basically chatted a bit on a post-game show, but we didn't have a chance, to meet you. But you're very knowledgeable for the fan base. I want to know your thoughts. I want to start because we're going backwards first. What do you see in the Bills game? We didn't preview. I'm going to ask you this, but we're talking about the Bills. So before we talk about the Jets, I want to know your thoughts about the Dolphins' performance against the Bills.
It was an up and down performance. I'll say it this way. It looked like Miami's offense was better, but they still only scored 21 points. All right, they couldn't have thought going into the game against Buffalo, one of the highest scoring teams in the league, on a Thursday night on the road, that 21 points was going to be good enough. So I was disappointed in the offense, even though they looked better than the first 2 weeks. Defensively, kind of like what Eddie was saying, the front seven needs to be better because the secondary is just not very good. And the defensive tackle play has been poor. We'll just say it that way. Sealer is getting double teamed a lot, and Grant and Phillips and Benito Jones and those players just aren't stepping up the way they need to. So the defensive tackles are getting exposed. That's exposing the linebackers, and Miami's really struggling stopping the run right now.
Absolutely. Eddie, you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, he's absolutely right. They're not playing as a unit right now, and I'm not sure. I think they need to make a switch at linebacker. I just don't think Dotson's doing too much. I mean, he's got some good tackling numbers, but I think he's missing assignments, and he cannot cover.
Yeah, and I don't like it when linebackers get tackles like 5, 6, 7 yards down the field. That's not what you're supposed to be tackling the player.
We hardly have any tackles for losses as a team.
Correct.
It's terrible.
Correct. They don't, and it's reflective of the performance by that front seven in the run game.
Absolutely. Greg, this Dolphins have a chance to avoid going to an historical 0-4 start, because we know the Greg Mario catch. If we didn't get that, we get a donut for the season on wins. But this might be an historic bad season, because you have coming off the 2023 with those so many high expectations to start 0-4 in 2025 will be disastrous. So how do you see this team right now? Eddie and I talked so many times about the construction of the team, how this team is not constructed the right way. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll say it this way: this team has talent in certain positions. Are they using that talent to the best of their ability? Maybe, right? I have major questions at running back. If you've seen me on any of the shows, I don't think Achane is the primary runner, or should be the primary runner. He is. The more carries he gets, the worse he gets in the game. All right, so we need another primary running back. I was encouraged to see Ali Gordon get more carries against Buffalo. I'm hoping that continues against the Jets. The Jets you can run on. The Jets you can run inside on. So let's see if we can exploit that a little bit this week. I also think that the Jets play in the secondary. They do things that Miami should be able to take advantage of. They play more man than most teams. I would think that would open up things for Waddle and Hill. So let's see if Miami can exploit that. But the big question is going to be, and it always is with me, is how well is Tua going to play? Tua's going to put the ball in harm's way 4 or 5 times this game. All right, are the Jets going to be able to catch those interceptions? Are they going to be able to create that fumble? Okay, that's going to change the game. Both of these teams on defense aren't very good right now. Miami's giving up the most points in the league. The Jets are giving up 1 point less. All right, so they're both of these teams probably should be getting scored on quite a bit in this game. It looks like Justin Fields is going to be back on Sunday, and running quarterbacks have historically given the Dolphins issues. So at the beginning of the year, we looked at this and said, yeah, this is going to be a win for Miami. I don't know if we can say that about any team right now. They tend to want to play down to the talent, and if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, there's not a whole lot of faith in this offense, executing late, in my opinion.
Mike.
Yeah, Sammy, I can't hear you.
I just put a stiff at it. I'm sorry. Eddie, what are your thoughts?
Well, to his point, he's absolutely right. I think the other defense that's up there being as bad as us is the Ravens, believe it or not.
Wow, that's incredible.
Hey, we held Buffalo to 31. At least they gave up 41 to them. I'd like to believe that Miami's going to play well against a bad defense, but it never happens. somehow that team will always come up big against us. The Jets always, they always give us problems no matter what.
That rivalry is always the same thing. The Monday Night Miracle and so many other things that,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what to expect. I've never had a year where I don't know what to expect from that team. I'm talking about Miami. This is so up and down. I mean, yeah, okay, they got beat by the Colts, but so has everybody else. I look at that, I mean, the Colts are putting up numbers. Danny Dimes there is the best quarterback in the league right now. And,
Yeah.
Patriots should have beat the Patriots. There's no excuse to lose to that team. Should
have beat the Patriots twice because they could have done with a kick return.
Yeah.
And David Fachin doesn't be out of bounds.
Yep. Oh yeah. That was a team effort on losing that one.
Greg?
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. And there's so many dumb penalties in that game.
Oh yeah.
Right? That just kept either extending drives for them or killing drives for us. It was as bad, as stupid a game as it was in Indianapolis, where they basically weren't in it from the time, the opening kickoff. All right.
On the plane.
Yeah. The New England game was much more disappointing to me because New England tried to give us the win, and Miami kind of just refused to take it. And they should be better than that now, 4 years into this regime. That was the most disappointing game, And then Buffalo on a short week on the road was always going to be tough. All right, Miami just doesn't play well against Buffalo. But Eddie's comment about Baltimore. All right, look at their schedule the first 4 weeks. They had to go to Buffalo. They had to play the Lions, arguably the best team in the NFC. And then this week, they're at Kansas City. And Kansas City's not the team they used to be, but you're still on the road. That's 4 really rough games to start 3 out of your first 4 weeks. So
that's the kind of schedule they always give the Dolphins to the end of the year because that
always
happens.
Yeah.
They give it to start the year.
Somebody messed up. They must have wrote it wrong to the wrong team there.
No, but the funny thing is like this is supposed to be the easy part of Miami's schedule. All right. It's only going to get worse from here. So they got to win this week. They got to win next week. All right. But Carolina's no gimme now. All right. Like Eddie said, you just don't know what to expect week in and week out. You don't know who's going to perform outside of probably Achane. All right. Even though I said Achane's not a primary runner, he's been the only consistent good player on offense the first 3 weeks. So let's see what happens. But yeah, somebody else needs to step up.
Absolutely. Talking about consistent, Greg, Tua Tagovailoa has been incredibly consistent. 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 2 basically to end the game interceptions. So Eddie and I talked so many times about Tua not looking the same. The ball, he looks kind of weaker. He looks slower. Even his attitude today, he was taking shots at criticism by Cam Newton, who is not an all-time great, but still went to a Super Bowl with the Panthers. He was an MVP. He went to a Super Bowl. So I don't know. I don't usually agree with what Cam Newton has to say, but the credentials are there. So, I think he has earned the right to at least say something about criticism for Tua, but even that ruffled Tua a little bit. So what are your thoughts on Tua right now? Inconsistent. Our thoughts is he doesn't look the same.
He doesn't look the same because I think defenses when Mike McDaniel came in, to Miami, and basically he worked with Tua's strengths, timing and accuracy, spot throws, those types of things, and it worked. It worked pretty well, all the way up until December of 2023. Then defenses started getting a little bit smarter. They started isolating those spots that he liked to throw the ball and started to cover them. And basically it's making him go from inside out. He wants to throw the ball inside the numbers. Defenses are covering that, making him throw outside the numbers. It doesn't mean he can't. He's just not as good at throwing outside that he is inside. The other thing that they're now doing by taking those spot throws away is they're making him read the defense. And he is not reading the defense as well as he should at this point in his career. All right, that's what I'm seeing. These interceptions that he's throwing are because he's not reading the defense. All right, he's always sort of put the ball in harm's way, but he did not recognize on the interception in the Buffalo game that it was a cover 2 look pre-snap. Post-snap, they rotated into a cover 3, and he did not see it. And basically, he threw the ball on time to the curl in that route combination, and the guy who's supposed to be covering the curl, the middle linebacker, intercepted the pass. And he had no idea that guy was there. And the frustrating part to me with Tua right now is 6 years in, he should be reading the defense better. And he's not. And that's really hurting this offense. It's not, I don't blame McDaniel so much as I blame, he's just limited by what Tua's good at. And right now, Tua's not showing that he's good at other things than that spot timing throwing that basically worked at the beginning of in 2022 before he got hurt, and 2023 before defenses kind of figured it out.
Basically, the analogy I make is Tua is like a point guard in basketball, right? He knows how to distribute the ball, but if he's not a great shooter and you know where the spot on the court that he loves to throw, you basically get him away from the spot. So that's basically the same thing you're saying. So you know what Tua can do, you know where he has to throw it, and if you move the defense around to the spots he does not comfortable and he throws outside the numbers and everything, on the move, that's not his forte.
Correct. And just in the first 3 weeks this year, okay, look at the times that he's missed open receivers in Waddle and Hill especially, in spots that Tua doesn't normally throw the ball. Yes. You can tell he's just off. He's not as comfortable throwing to these areas, even when the receivers are open. I mean, he's probably cost Hill, 4 or 5 receptions and maybe 100 and some odd yards this year because he's just flat out missed them. And if he's not throwing on time in certain spots, he struggles. And defenses know this. Defenses have all the analytics. They have all the stats. They know the areas that he wants to throw the ball to and where he, his heat map, for lack of a better term, right? These areas are red because that's where he's hottest. These areas are cooled down. They're green. They're blue. Whatever color you want to do it, because he's just not as successful throwing to those areas as he is to the ones that are. Defenses know this. They're covering those hot areas, and Tua's struggling to throw the ball to the other areas. And part of it's due to lack of arm strength. Part of it, but he's always sort of had that. Now, if we want to talk, and he kind of mentioned injuries today during his press conference. If you want to talk about injuries affecting his throwing ability, there might be something to that, because there's been a lot of people who have looked at the way he throws the ball this year and say it just looks different. And today he's talking about how his ankles aren't like they used to be and stuff like that. All of that affects your throwing. You throw with your lower body, and if your lower body's not right, that's going to affect your velocity and your accuracy.
Yes. Eddie?
Oh, absolutely. 100% on everything he just said. There's definitely something off with his throwing. I was starting to call him Tannehill in the last game because he's starting to get people hurt. That's what Tannehill did. The way he threw the ball high. He never, Tua hardly ever did that in his first couple of years. But these passes are sailing on him. And usually when you're sailing a pass, it's because of arm strength. I don't think it's his arm per se that's weaker. I think it's the lower body. I still think it's that hip. I mean, this is just me as somebody that's watched football. If he had a great arm, it wouldn't bother him. I mean, look at Marino. He had the Achilles injury, he still came back. You couldn't tell the way he threw a football, but Tua has to use the whole lower body to get into a throw. And some of them passes he was missing, he was throwing off his front foot. He cannot do that. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Josh Allen. The reading of the defense is worse this year than it's been. And I don't understand it, if he's just lost confidence or what. But I was so happy to see Waddle catch a couple balls in a row. I mean, it's like the kid ain't even out there, and he's been open. These two guys have been open.
Yeah.
If you watch the overhead, all 22, Hill and Waddle are always open. Not always, but you know what I'm saying. They're open a lot, and he's not wanting to throw it where they are. Or where the one guy is open, he doesn't want to throw it there because it's not in his comfort zone. That's something, I don't know. You can't deal with that. And people get on McDaniel. I've been on him this year for the first time. But you can only do what your quarterback's willing to do. You can call a play, and it doesn't mean you have to throw to the guy that the play was called for. I mean, you got to make some adjustments in your head, and it's just not making it to his head, from his head to his arm or whatever. I don't know.
Greg, Eddie just mentioned Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel had, right now, for many, he's in the hot seat. Just on a loss, that performance was so over the expectation of many that basically he's now kind of at the hot seat, but just for now, because a loss against the Jets on Monday night, and he's back in the hot seat. What are your thoughts on the hotness of Mike McDaniel's seat right now?
His seat should be really, really hot. All right, look, this is the NFL. All right, 3 years into being a head coach at a team, you better have won something. He hasn't won a division. He hasn't won a playoff game. And now in his fourth year, he's starting 0-3. Yeah, that seat better be damn hot. All right. The bar is so low. The bar was set so low going into that Buffalo game that the offense looked okay, and people thought it was a revelation. All right. The offense just wasn't as bad as it was against Indianapolis and New England. All right. It was a low bar. All right.
Yes, for sure.
He looked okay. And now they're like, oh, it's one of the best games he's called. No, it wasn't one of the best games he's called. They just didn't look stupid. All right. You know what I mean?
By the curve, they didn't look stupid in 2025, basically, yes.
They still only scored 21 points. All right. That's not good enough. And a part of that was I was just cracking up. Like I said, I didn't expect them to win in Buffalo. All right. But this was a good game. He called a really good game. Well, Tua completed half his passes behind the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
All right. They weren't doing anything spectacular or anything like that. It was basically Tua was basically just, protecting the ball even more so than he usually does. And he still made mistakes. All right. He still didn't read the play correctly. Part of what I think Tua's problem is his inability to read defenses. Basically, Miami's offense, the way it's set up, is everything's fast, everything's quick. There's no progressions. You don't go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. All right, it's basically 1 to 2 and then improvise. And you can go 1 to 2 on the left. You can go 1 to 2 on the right. All right, because all of the routes are taking place and are supposed to be open in that 2.5 second range. All right, so. But the defense dictates what side of the field you're working on, what part of the route combination you're working with. And if you read it wrong, you're working the wrong side of the field, he's kind of screwed. All right. There's not a whole lot. He can't adjust. He can't. If you make Tua improvise, you win as a defense. All right. This isn't Josh Allen. This isn't, Patrick Mahomes. This isn't Lamar Jackson that it can extend plays and the receivers can deviate, run their secondary routes, and they have arm strength to get them, to get the ball to them. That's not Tua. All right. So if Tua's not right in that first read, the offense isn't going to go anywhere. That play is not going to go anywhere. And defenses are taking that away. They're confusing him. All right. Going from cover 2 pre-snap to cover 3 post-snap. That's just confusing him. It causes him to look at the wrong side of the field. And when he does that, when everything's covered, he makes mistakes.
Eddie?
Yes, I agree. I thought McDaniel played a pretty good, called a pretty good game. They only scored 21 points. I don't know if he's calling all them passes behind the line of scrimmage or he's just checked down Charlie now. Which he was always looking for the big play before. I was going to bring this up earlier when Greg brought up, running backs, the running back room. He's not He's not shouldn't be a full-time running back. They tried out a guy that's in Dallas right now, and they signed 2 other guys that aren't even on the practice squad instead. Javonte Williams, he was here. He was in Miami for a tryout, and they could have signed him. He's averaging 4.8 yards a carry. He's a big man. He can catch the ball. They could have went with him. Ollie Gordon, it's taking a little time. People don't realize there's more to a football game than running a ball between the tackles and getting good yardage. You have to block, something that McDaniel kind of called him out on, and I understand why, because he missed a couple blocks. Not that everybody on the team has it, but
it's going to take a number there.
All right, I'm going to go take a little different take here on one thing. I'm going to take a little heat off Tua. Now, to be fair, do you think there's a worse tight end room in the NFL?
Oh, absolutely no. It's the worst tight end by far.
Absolutely.
No, there's not. And that's your safety blanket. Last year he had Jonnu Smith, or whoever was playing quarterback had Jonnu Smith. At least he was there. He was catching balls and getting first downs. These guys are so undersized. If you can't throw the ball deep, they're covering them over the middle. You got to fit a ball in a tight window. If you had a tight end with some size and could go up and grab it, that's different. But they don't. Is Waller going to play this week? Who knows? I don't even know if I really care if he's going to play this week because it probably will only last a week or two. But that's my thought on him. I cannot believe they gave up a single anything. A can of Pringles was way too much to trade for him. This is crazy. That's the only thing I'm holding all my anger back at Tua from is he's very limited on what he has to throw to also. He's got 2 of the best receivers in the NFL, but that's it. Malik Washington I think he's the smallest out of all of them, and they're using him all over the field, which is a little scary sometimes. I don't want that kid to get hurt. I love him, but that's just my thought on that. Why didn't they sign Javonte Williams, and why didn't they sign Noah Fant, who are both in there ready to sign?
Absolutely.
I want Mike Gesicki at this point.
Wow. Hard times, bro. Hard times.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, brother. I don't want to say anything bad about Mike Gesicki. I don't want him to block me on X.
I know that's true.
Greg, before we go deeply into the Jets, I wanna take from your knowledge. My understanding of the Dolphins offense was that basically it's a timing offense. That the way I see the offense is this. I see Mike Daniel as someone who, one, is always setting up the next play with the plays he's doing before, and 2, who has the other receivers and the running back setting up the one play he wants, the one receiver he wants the quarterback to go to. And that throw has to be with timing. It has to be in the perfect spot, and the receiver has to be there by the time the throw is there. That was the concept I used to believe that Mike Daniel goes to run. If that's the case, and if I'm right, then it will not be all on Tua, just because of the fact that, Tyreek Hill basically didn't have the time. He didn't have the training camp that he had. Like Eddie said, the receivers are so small that he has to be perfect. The offensive line has played better, but, you need a running game because when Raheem Mostert was here, he had 20 touchdowns in the red zone. The Dolphins offense was cooking. So I see a Tua that doesn't look the same player as he used to, but the fact that yes, he cannot read offenses the way we would expect of a quarterback in the 6th year is not all on him, just because of the fact that the offense is set up for one receiver and one play. Tell me why I'm wrong. I'm not saying
I
I'm
don't
right. I want you to tell me why I'm wrong.
I don't necessarily think you're wrong, but okay, the offense was set up that way. All right, there's a reason why they got Hill, and there's a reason why they drafted Waddle. All
Yes.
right, those are essentially timing receivers. Okay, you put them on the field. You want them to run an exact route. That you want them to get to a certain location on the field with the ball being released, so that they get to that location and the ball's there when they get there. All right, that is that is Tua's superpower, for lack of a better term, at the quarterback. Right,
Absolutely.
he throws with timing and accuracy. Okay, the problem with that type of offense is that when defenses start to figure that out and defenses start to find those places that you want to throw the ball, that heat map, and they start taking that away, you have to do something else. All right.
Mhm.
And what I see from McDaniel is he's, for the better part of a year, all of 24, and so far this year, he's trying to find that something else, and it's not being executed very well. All right. He is
Mhm.
scheming players open. Tua's missing those players because he's throwing the ball to areas that he's not as good at throwing. It's the
Absolutely.
spots that he's not as comfortable throwing to. It's spots that he's not as comfortable hitting. All right. So part of me gives McDaniel a break on that, because I think he's trying, and I think he's limited. All right. And as a former coach, now I coached in high school and I coached at Division III college level. Right. I played at the Division III college level, so I'm not talking anywhere near this. I've been to NFL camps. I've talked to NFL coaches and things. And football is not all that different. NFL's a little more complicated and so on and so forth, but it's not that different. As a play caller and as a coach, you practice things that your team can execute. And then in practice, if they can't execute it, you can't call it in a game. All right. So when you shrink your playbook that was this thick to a single sheet, all right, for a game day, and even that single sheet, because certain players can only run certain plays, it's not even two sides of the sheet, it's only the one side.
Absolutely. Yes.
When you get to the NFL, they're going to figure out the plays that you want to run. They're going to figure out what you're trying to do, the schemes that you're trying to do. The interception against Buffalo, say it again. The defensive player who intercepted the ball, Bernard, basically said, "We watched this play on tape. We knew when they got into this type of formation that they like to run this combo scheme." And the route scheme that they ran is stuff that you run in high school. All right. A hook with a flat and either a takeoff or a corner. Okay. It's a simple, everybody runs it. All right. Miami probably runs it too often in the NFL because it's easily recognizable. And if Tua's not reading the defense correctly, and he doesn't see the shift from 2 to 3, it that kind of stuff's going to happen. All right. And so, if you talk to Evan on the channel, he always blames Mike McDaniel for everything, right?
Yeah. See, let's go back to
I'm on a
it.
lot of shows with him, and I don't always agree with that. And this is one of the things I don't necessarily agree with. It's you can only call the plays that your players can execute, and that hamstrings you a lot of times. And the great players, the great quarterbacks, can execute more plays. And you have a bigger playbook to call with them. Right now, I just think that the play sheet for Miami is very limited because they're just not executing. He can't execute the plays that need to be executed.
Absolutely. Let's try something here. I'm still learning this platform, so let me see if this works. Let me
Right.
see. Yes, we're here.
And there we
Awesome.
go.
There we go. That's the injury report already. Your eyesight is better than me. Let me tell you here. I don't remember this injury report being as low on injuries right now. Basically, Storm Dog with no Jason Marshall, Jalen Waddle with the shoulder. That's been a couple of weeks. and Darren Waller. I expect Darren Waller to go into the game and get out of the game. And basically, take his part of the Miami Dolphins retirement fund for just like OBJ, just like
OBJ, Fuller,
so many others,
Byron Jones,
and so many others who basically
such
had
great players they signed.
If there's something in the report you see that basically catches your eye, because for me there's nothing new that actually what I'm surprised is so low that basically we have so many injuries.
I thought you were missing the second page. Tell you the truth, I've never seen it. The first week they had like 15 players on it.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the Jets injury part. I see Fields. If he's full, he's playing then. Concussion wise, for us, Melifolwu, he's full. I don't know if that matters. I don't know if he can cover anybody. Storm Duck, he's not going to be back for a couple weeks. Marshall, he needs a whole year of practice before. That's a Florida Gator for you. That's why I never pick him. That's why I never pick him in the pros. But that's me. That's just me. Waddle, like you said, Waller will be like probably, I don't want to speak ill of the man. I'm sure he's a good guy, but he's probably going to be like the first 3 plays and then done. It's just, I don't know what they're doing. God, I wish I knew what they were doing, because I wouldn't have so many questions in my head when I'm watching them.
So many comments on the chat before we go. I want to mention some of the names, but running out of time. I want to say thanks to Greg, because also let me see. Okay, here's the weather. Coach Garcia, Road the World. Rainy again. Great. A night of rain in Miami. If this is true, 45% chance of precipitation. You will hope the humidity is there, but we cannot catch a break. But we got a 45%.
Depends on that hurricane that's forming.
Yeah. By then, who knows? But I prefer my games at 1 p.m. and very hot, because that's the best way for the Dolphins, right, Greg? The humidity catches every team. We always have a chance. And I want to go with Greg. Go into this. How they compare, Greg? I want to talk to you about this. The Dolphins, as of right now, are the 18th total offense. And this is the Colts one. I'm sorry. I'm gonna look for the Jets. Let me see if I get the Jets. I'll find it. But they have the Dolphins 35th, 35th, I think, in run defense. That's just crazy. That cannot be it. But let me go back to the injury report. There you go. Oh crap! There you go. Greg, is there something in the injury report that gets your eye?
No. I mean, not really. I mean, it just it shows how thin they are in the secondary. Okay. Because they got 3 people on the injury report in the secondary, and 3 people that I don't think are really good. All right. I mean, I don't think they're very good at all, but they're main players on this defense. So we got backups to bad players now playing. If you think about it, the Jets are going to have the best wide receiver that Miami's faced probably so far this year. All right, Wilson's a player. All right, so I don't feel good about that with the secondary. And then, Eddie talked about how bad the tight end room is. A dozen plays out of Waller is probably going to be a significant upgrade.
Would be.
I mean, that's how bad it is. All right.
That also would be a miracle if we get that, because But
the other part of how bad the tight end room is Achane wants to run outside. He wants to run outside zone. You can't run outside zone if you can't secure the edge, and you don't secure the edge without a tight end that can block. All right. And Miami struggles blocking as well. Tight ends blocking. So, again, all of these personnel decisions that were made, all right, Noah Fant was there, all right? Noah Fant might not be the best pass catcher at tight end anymore, but you know what? He's at least an average blocker, which would be a significant upgrade to what they currently have. And maybe then we could run a little bit more outside zone. So it's just all of those things kind of just piled together. like I said, I don't. Eddie made a point. I just don't know what we're going to get, and that's the bad point. That's a bad place to be as a fan. You just don't know what's going to show up, what's going to work. So I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of faith. Let's put it that way. In Monday night, they got to show me something.
Eddie, over under on Waller, one catch, over under.
Over if he plays, of course. I mean, I don't know how I would bet that.
Oh no, that's part of the over under.
You
cannot do that.
I'll do over.
You do over. So you're saying he plays and he gets a catch.
And I got over for Breece Hall having 3 touchdowns and 130 yards.
Oh, brother. How about you, Greg? Over under one catch for Waller on Monday.
Yeah, I think he's going to play, and I think he will have 2 or 3 catches. I'll say that. Okay. Let's put it this way: if Miami had a tight end the first 3 weeks, they would probably have 10 catches right now.
Yeah.
All right, because watching the all 22, you can see where basically the defenses are just sort of dropping coverage on the tight end. They're not even paying attention to them.
Absolutely.
And it's the Kurt Warners of the world, when they analyze the Dolphins games, they don't never take that into consideration. They kind of just look at what the coverage should be on paper and say, okay, that guy should be coming over here because that's the way the coverage dictates. Well, in the real world against real players, defenses know who not to cover and who to cover. So they know who to pay more attention to than the others. And part of the hospital balls that we've been seeing a lot where, Tua's putting Hill and Waddle in harm's way is because those defenses aren't covering the other players like they should because they're not threats.
Greg, before we go, I want to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one disappointment from the team so far, what would be their biggest disappointment? Eddie, you're next, but I want to know your thoughts first. What's the biggest disappointment in 2025 so far?
My biggest disappointment so far has to be the defensive front seven. I did not realize how not having another good defensive tackle was going to affect Sealer. Sealer's been basically invisible the first 3 games because the offensive line is paying a whole heck of a lot of attention to him. Grant, Phillips, Benito Jones, they just haven't been doing the job. They've been getting blocked. I saw a stat earlier this week where Grant is one of the worst defensive tackles in the league right now, rated by PFF. All right. I know it's a tough position. I know, but it might take a while to learn, but he still should be better than that. And then the Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, and Bradley Chubb not getting consistent pressure has been a disappointment as well. I thought there was a chance that they could take some of the pressure off the secondary by just getting to the quarterback more, and it hasn't happened. I know Chubb has 3 sacks in 3 games, and stat-wise that looks good, but for the most part he's been a non-factor. Jalen Phillips has been a non-factor, and Chop Robinson hasn't even had his name announced, for 3 weeks. I don't even know, he's barely he's been a ghost on the field, and I expected more from him in this second year. So I assumed the secondary was going to be bad. I did not expect the front seven to be this bad.
Absolutely. Eddie, what are your thoughts? What is your biggest disappointment so far?
Front seven.
Anyone in particular? For me, Chubb Robinson, closely followed by Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, like Greg said, Chubb has three sacks, but other than that, no tackles for losses. I don't believe. Very few pressures. The ends, they're not doing well on the run. They're biting down too hard, and their guys are running around them. But I guess it's the middle of the defense that's the biggest disappointment. I mean, they're just getting gutted every week. And to be fair, my God, I can't even think of their names right now. Rasul Douglas, the one corner. Help me with the other kid's name. Jack Jones? Is that
Jack
it?
Jones, yes. Jack Jones. Yes.
They're really, if you look at they're not doing that bad. Jones gave up a touchdown. That was an amazing catch against the Patriots. But other than that, them two guys have actually played pretty decent. Now they've had to stay back there in coverage while the front seven just kind of stands there and doesn't get home like they should be. They should be pressuring people. They'd probably have an interception by now. I mean, I know them guys aren't great, but they're playing better than they should be. That's my kind of biggest surprise on the secondary. The safety play has been terrible. Minka's had to make up a lot. I feel bad for him too. Good God. We get rid of him off what? The worst team, one of the worst teams in football. He goes away. We're pretty good, and then he comes back and we're terrible again.
He might think it's a purgatory. Greg, I want to thank you. You live up to the expectations because you've coached you a lot of. Evan told me so many times you have to talk to Greg. You have to talk to Greg. So he pushed for it, and you've been great. Hopefully, you can join us on Fins TV regular edition and Fins TV Plus before the season's over. Your knowledge is great. Tell me where they can find you on social media, right? On X, Greg.
Yeah, on X, I'm at G Meyne at CT1361. You can follow me there. Evan sent out a tweet earlier, saying that I'm cheating on him, by coming on all these shows. But no, Evan and I try to get together on overtime. It just life happens. We both got things going on, so we can't really make it a consistent show. But no, Sammy, this has been great. Eddie, it's been great talking to you guys. Anytime you want me to come on, just let me know.
Awesome.
And this has been a lot of fun. So
absolutely. Hopefully we can do it again. Eddie, any last thoughts before we go?
Can we get all three of us and Evan on so we don't have to talk as much?
I'll try my best. That's the monologue. That's a late night show.
That's so easy when he's on the show. He doesn't.
Oh yeah.
He's awesome. Well, any last thoughts? I hope they win. Like I said, I'm not a guy that roots for my team to lose. I don't even care if it's for picks. At the end of the year, I might be, why did they win that game? But I cannot ever root for my team to lose. So I hope they win. I hope they play well. Do I think they will? I have no idea. I wish I did. I wish I knew that they'd come out and play bad or they'd play good. It would make my life a lot easier, and I wouldn't be disappointed.
Yeah, for sure. This fan base needs a win. I know people think about tanking and quarterbacks, and this fan base needs a win. Right, Greg? We need to find a way to win.
No, absolutely. And the worst thing that can happen to a franchise is apathy. All right. And fans just don't care one way or the other. And one of the ways I look at the Dolphins fans and how excited they are is, resale ticket prices. This is the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. And basically you can get into the game for the cost of a beer. I mean, that's just wrong right now.
That's crazy.
So you need, this team needs a win. And while I can speak critical about certain aspects of the team and the organization in general, come game time, I'm rooting for the Dolphins to do well. I want them to win, and winning is important. This is the NFL. All right. You're supposed to go out there and win football games. And every time they lose, it's a dagger, man. It hurts. I don't care who you are. It hurts. So
we deserve a win. It's the Jets. We never want to lose to the Jets. It's Monday night. National. It's a national game for a second week in a row. The Dolphins just can't find a way to win. Before we go, I want to say hey to many people in the chat. Adrian, Steve Malloy is there. Our friend Cap, Jernier, Rafael, Stanley, Sean Stanley from the Vigo Show. So many others were there. Steve, I saw Steve around. I want to thanks to everyone in the chat. Yeah. We started a bit late because Mr. Chappell was busy. So I want to.
I was right on time for once.
Yeah, come on. But I have to wrap it up. So again, Greg, thank you. Eddie, thank you. Let's meet again this week, Eddie. So thank you very much, guys. No matter what, I had to get a new catchphrase. So the new catchphrase is gonna be at least we have each other. So until next week on Fins TV Plus, thank you very much. Goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching Fins TV. Please like and subscribe.